One quiet morning, I stood by the window of my new home with a small plant in my hands. Its leaves were green and soft, the soil fresh and damp. I placed it carefully on the windowsill, where the sunlight poured in. It wasn't just decoration. To me, it was a symbol. Growth. Roots. The chance to nurture something with care, the way I had finally learned to nurture myself. As I pressed the pot into place, I looked around my little living room. It wasn't grand. It wasn't filled with expensive things, but it was steady. It was safe. It was mine. Every corner told a story of my hard work. Every detail carried the weight of what I had overcome. I thought of my brother then, and the house he had lost. A house handed to him without effort, built on pride and entitlement. And I thought of myself, standing here in a home built not from gifts but from years of sacrifice, long nights, and determination. They gave him a house built on sand, I whispered to myself. I built my home on stone. And this time, no one can take it away from me. The words settled in the air, soft but strong. For so long, I had been chasing love, chasing approval, chasing scraps of worth from people who never saw me clearly. But now, I didn't need any of that. I had given myself what they never could. I touched the leaves of the little plant and smiled. It would grow here just as I would. Maybe slowly, maybe with care, but steadily, rooted in strength, reaching toward the light. And for the first time in my life, I felt whole. Not because of what I had been given, but because of what I had chosen for myself. Hey besties. Thanks for staying till the end. Imagine your mom giving your brother a house while you're left with scraps. Painful, right? But sometimes betrayal lights the fire that makes us stronger. I built my own home on stone with my own hands. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, drop a comment, and subscribe for more. See you in the next one. The music was loud, people were talking over one another, and the smell of fried meat and jollof rice filled the air. Angela was carrying a tray of drinks from the kitchen when she noticed a hush ripple through one corner of the living room. She turned, confused, just as Maya stepped out of the bathroom. Her daughter stood frozen in the doorway. Angela's eyes went straight to her head, and her heart almost stopped. Maya's thick black curls were gone. Her head was shaved completely bald. For a second, Angela thought she was seeing things. Then the sound hit her, laughter. Her cousins, uncles, even some of the aunties burst out laughing like they'd just witnessed a comedy show. Angela's stomach twisted. She saw Maya's eyes shimmering with tears, her hands trembling as she tried to cover her head with both palms. What happened? Angela whispered, the tray of drinks shaking in her hands. From across the room, Vanessa leaned against the wall, sipping her drink with a smile too sharp to be innocent. Relax, Angela, she said, smirking. It's just a joke. Angela blinked, her chest tightening. A joke? She repeated, her voice cracking. Her hair, her beautiful hair. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Oh, please. Don't be so dramatic. It'll grow back. The laughter continued, filling the room, bouncing off the walls. Someone clapped. Another shouted, she looks like a monk. Angela's ears burned, but all she could focus on was Maya. Her daughter's face was crumbling, her tears spilling down. Angela put the tray down quickly and rushed to her. She knelt in front of Maya, holding her hands. Baby, it's okay. It's okay, she whispered, though her own voice shook. But Maya only shook her head, sobbing harder, her small body trembling under the weight of the stares and jokes. Angela looked up at Vanessa. Rage flooded her chest, hot and sharp. How could you do this? She shouted, her voice cutting through the laughter. The room went quiet for a moment. Vanessa smirked again, her gold earrings catching the light. Angela, you're too uptight. Kids need to learn not to cry over every little thing. I was just helping her toughen up. Angela stared at her, her throat dry. Around the room, some relatives looked uncomfortable, but no one spoke up. Others covered their mouths, still giggling quietly. Angela felt her face burning with shame. She wanted to scream, to throw something, to make everyone see the cruelty. But all she could do was pull Maya into her arms. She held her daughter close, the sound of her sobs drowning out the music and the whispers. In that moment, Angela felt something break inside her. Not just anger at Vanessa, not just humiliation in front of the family, but a sharp, painful fear. Fear that her daughter's spirit was cracking, just the way hers once had. Angela had always carried herself like someone holding the weight of two lives, hers and Maya's. After the divorce, there were days she thought she wouldn't make it. Years of a toxic marriage had drained her, left her doubting her worth. Her ex-husband's words still echoed in her head sometimes, sharp, belittling, reminding her how small he wanted her to feel. But when she finally walked away, she made herself one promise. Her daughter would never feel the same kind of brokenness. Life after the divorce was not easy. Angela worked long shifts at a medical office during the day and picked up part-time bookkeeping at night. Bills always seemed to arrive before her paycheck, but she managed. She cooked meals from scratch, saved coins in jars, and stretched her clothes until the fabric was tired. But through all of it, She tried to give Maya a steady home, one where love was the foundation even if money was tight. Maya was 12 now, soft-spoken, with eyes that always seemed to search the room before she spoke. She loved books, sketching, and sitting close to her mother when they watched movies. But she was also sensitive, carrying her emotions close to the surface. If someone teased her too harshly, she'd take it to heart and carry the sting for days. Angela knew this. She saw the quiet pain in her daughter's face whenever classmates made comments about her natural hair or her shy nature. That was why Vanessa's so-called joke cut so deep. Vanessa had always been the opposite of Angela. She was the golden child, the one everyone admired. Younger by 3 years, Vanessa was charismatic and flashy, with money to spend and stories to tell. She worked in finance, drove a new car every 2 years, and wore outfits that made her the center of attention at every gathering. On the outside, she was the sister who had it all together. But beneath the charm was cruelty, the kind that came out in sharp comments disguised as humor. Angela had lived with it since childhood. When they were younger, Vanessa would borrow her clothes without asking and return them stained. She would charm their parents with good grades while Angela's quiet efforts were overlooked. As adults, nothing had changed. Vanessa still found ways to belittle Angela, whether it was about her divorce, her modest apartment, or her parenting. Family gatherings were the hardest. Angela went mostly for her mother's sake. Their mother loved seeing all her children under one roof, and Angela couldn't bring herself to say no. But every visit felt like stepping into a storm. Vanessa would throw sly remarks about how tired Angela looked, or how Maya needed to come out of her shell. Other relatives, caught between loyalty and amusement, often laughed or looked away. Angela learned to bite her tongue, swallow her pride, and endure the sting. But now, after the scene at the party, she couldn't ignore it anymore. Her daughter had been targeted. Angela feared this moment for years. She knew how cruelty could shape a child. She knew how a sharp word could echo inside you long after the speaker had forgotten it. Angela's own scars were proof. She remembered being silenced in her marriage, told over and over that she was weak, dramatic, unlovable. It took everything she had to escape. And the thought that Maya, her sweet, shy daughter, might one day believe those same lies terrified her. That night, after the laughter had faded and the party ended, Angela sat awake, staring at Maya sleeping beside her. She reached out and touched her daughter's bald head gently, her throat tightening. Maya looked so small, so fragile. Angela felt anger rise in her again, but underneath it was something heavier, fear. She knew that children carried what was done to them. They carried it like invisible luggage, growing heavier as the years passed. Angela couldn't allow that. Not for Maya. She whispered to herself, not again. Never again. Angela could still feel her heart racing as she pulled Maya into her arms. The laughter around her cut like broken glass. She wanted to shield her daughter, to take her far away, but her legs were heavy, her throat tight. Slowly, she stood and turned to face Vanessa. What did you do to her? Angela's voice trembled, but it was loud enough for the whole room. Vanessa tilted her head, feigning innocence. Why are you making it such a big deal? It's hair. It grows back. She'll be fine. Angela stared at her in disbelief. Fine. You shaved my child's head without my permission. You humiliated her in front of everyone. Do you think this is funny? A few relatives shifted uncomfortably, but others chuckled under their breath. One uncle muttered. Angela calmed down. It's just kids' play. She's not a kid, Angela snapped. She's 12 years old. She's a little girl with feelings. Her voice broke, anger spilling into every word. Vanessa rolled her eyes, her smirk never leaving. Angela, you're too sensitive. Always have been. You baby her too much, and look, she cries at everything. Someone needs to toughen her up. I was doing her a favor. Angela's hands shook. The words dragged her back to her marriage, to the nights she was told she was overreacting, too emotional, too weak. Now her own sister was saying the same thing, and in front of her child. Maya broke away from Angela's arms, tears streaming down her face, and ran down the hall. The slam of the bedroom door echoed through the house. Angela's chest clenched so tight she could barely breathe. Look at what you've done, she shouted at Vanessa, her voice rising above the whispers in the room. What I did? Vanessa scoffed. Angela, you're embarrassing yourself. Everyone here knows how dramatic you get. You can't take a joke. That's your problem, not mine. Angela scanned the room, searching for support. Her mother sat silently on the couch, wringing her hand. A cousin shrugged, trying to smile it off. Sis, maybe just let it go. It's family. Don't make it bigger than it is. The words stung more than Vanessa's laughter. Let it go. Just like always. Silence, excuses, forgiveness that was never deserved. Angela felt her stomach twist with a familiar pain, loneliness. No one was going to stand up for her, or for Maya. Her fists clenched at her sides. I will not let this go, she said quietly, but her voice was firm now. You humiliated my daughter. You broke her trust. That's not a joke. That's cruelty. Vanessa's smile faltered for the first time, but she quickly hid it behind another scoff. Angela, you really need therapy. You hold on to things too much. No wonder your marriage fell apart. The jab hit like a knife. Gasps rippled around the room. Angela swallowed hard, refusing to let her tears show. She would not cry here. Not in front of them. Not in front of Vanessa. Instead, she lifted her chin. You can call me dramatic, weak, whatever you want. But don't you ever touch my daughter again. The silence was heavy, broken only by the muffled sound of Maya crying behind the closed door. Angela turned and walked down the hall, ignoring the stares, the whispers, the uneasy laughter that bubbled up again as though nothing had happened. She knocked softly on the bedroom door. Maya, it's Mommy. Can I come in? There was no answer. She tried again, her hand pressed against the wood, her own voice trembling now. I'm here, baby. I'm not leaving you. After a long pause, the door creaked open. Maya's face was red and wet with tears. She didn't say a word, just buried herself in her mother's arms again. Angela held her close, her chest aching with both love and rage. In that moment, something inside her hardened. She thought of all the times she had stayed quiet for the sake of family peace, all the times she had been told to forgive and move on. She looked at her daughter and knew she couldn't afford silence anymore. She whispered into Maya's ear, so soft no one else could hear. I promise you, I will never let anyone hurt you like this again. That night, Angela's vow became the line she would never cross back over. The family's laughter had fractured something permanent. It wasn't just a joke. It was a wound, and she would not let it scar her daughter the way life had scarred her. Angela thought the worst was over after the party, but the truth came out slowly in pieces like little knives. A few days later, she sat with Maya at the kitchen table, the evening light spilling through the curtains. Maya was doodling in her notebook, her short hair hidden under a scarf. Angela had been watching her daughter more closely, noticing how quiet she'd become. The laughter that used to spill out during cartoons was gone. The way she used to hum while doing homework, gone too. Maya, Angela said softly, reaching across the table. Can I ask you something? Maya didn't look up. MHM, was that the first time your Aunt Vanessa did something like that? Her pencil froze. For a long moment, she didn't speak. Then she shook her head slowly. Angela's stomach sank. What do you mean? Maya's eyes filled with tears, though she tried to blink them back. She always makes fun of me. She says things when you're not around. She laughs at my hair. She says I'm too quiet, that I'm boring. She tells me her daughter is prettier than me. Angela's breath caught in her throat. Why didn't you tell me? Maya shrugged, her voice breaking. Because I didn't want to cause drama. Every time you two argue, Grandma gets upset. I didn't want you to fight more. I thought maybe if I stayed quiet, she'd stop. Angela pulled her daughter into her arms, her chest tightening with guilt. How many times had Maya been suffering in silence while she was too busy working, too busy surviving? She stroked Maya's back as tears stung her eyes. That night, Angela lay awake replaying the flashbacks that Maya described. She remembered times when Maya came home from Vanessa's house quieter than usual. Times when Vanessa had made innocent comments like, Maya should smile more, she always looks so dull. Or, my daughter's hair is so much thicker, maybe Maya needs some vitamins. At the time, Angela brushed them off, not wanting to start a fight. Now she realized they were little cuts that had been bleeding into Maya's heart from. The next weekend, Angela visited her mother. She wanted support, someone to stand beside her. She sat on the old couch where she had spent her childhood, her hands clenched in her lap. Her mother listened quietly as Angela explained everything, how Vanessa shaved Maya's head, how Maya confessed about the insults. When Angela finished, her mother sighed heavily. Angela, I know it was wrong, but you have to forgive her. She's your sister. Angela blinked. Forgive her? She humiliated my daughter. She's been bullying her for months. Her mother shook her head. Vanessa didn't mean real harm. She just jokes too much. You know how she is. Don't tear the family apart over this. The words felt like a slap. Angela stared at her mother, heat rising in her chest. So Maya should just keep suffering? You want me to tell my daughter to accept being humiliated, because that's how she is. Her mother avoided her gaze. Family is family, no matter what. Angela felt the isolation press down heavier than ever. It was the same old story. Vanessa protected, excused, and Angela left to swallow her pain in silence. But this time, it wasn't just her. It was her child. That night, Angela sat at her desk after Maya went to bed, staring at her laptop. She typed child endangerment law into the search bar. The thought had been growing in her mind. Maybe what Vanessa did wasn't just cruelty. It was something the law should know about. Shaving a child's head without permission, mocking and humiliating her. Wasn't that abuse? Her heart pounded as she scrolled through articles. There were stories of parents reporting relatives, of cases where jokes crossed the line. For a moment, Angela pictured calling the police, filing a report, seeing Vanessa face consequences. She pictured Maya learning that her pain mattered, that someone would protect her. But then fear crept in. What if no one believed them? What if the family turned completely against her? What if the legal fight made Maya's life even harder? Angela closed the laptop with shaking hand. She couldn't decide. The weight of the choice pressed down on her chest. In the days that followed, the pressure grew worse. Relatives called her phone, some urging her to move on, others laughing it off like nothing had happened. Vanessa, of course, sent no apology. Instead, she posted smiling pictures online of her own daughter, her hair long and glossy, captions about family love that made Angela sick to her stomach. Everywhere Angela turned, she was reminded that if she stayed silent, Vanessa would win. But if she spoke up, she would stand alone. One evening, Maya sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone, and whispered, "Mom, everyone at school saw the pictures. They laughed at me today." Angela's heart broke. She sat beside her and held her close. "Listen to me," she said firmly, brushing away her daughter's tears. "You are not a joke. You are not less than anyone. I will fix this. I promise." And as she said it, Angela knew she was standing on the edge of a decision that would change everything, for her, for Maya, and for the family that had always demanded her silence. The second family gathering was supposed to be peaceful. That was what Angela told herself as she dressed Maya and drove them over. Her mother had begged her to come, promising, "No drama this time. We'll all just eat and enjoy." Against her better judgment, Angela agreed. She didn't want Maya to grow up without family, and part of her still wanted to believe they could change. The house was crowded again, music playing, children running in and out. Angela tried to stay calm, keeping Maya close to her side. But then she saw Vanessa across the room, laughing with relatives as if nothing had happened. That smirk on her face was enough to reignite the fire in Angela's chest. Hours passed, but Angela's anger didn't fade. It grew. Every laugh, every careless remark, every glance toward Maya made it worse. Finally, when Vanessa made a loud joke about Angela's dramatic episodes, something inside her snapped. Angela stood, her voice sharp and loud enough to silence the "Enough!" The chatter died instantly. All eyes turned to her. Angela's hands shook, but she kept her chin high. "You think it's funny? Shaving my daughter's head, calling her names, comparing her to your own child. Do you think humiliating a little girl makes you strong, Vanessa?" Vanessa raised her brows, then let out a laugh. "Oh, here we go again. Angela, you're obsessed with me. You twist everything I do. I was joking. Everyone knows that. But you," she pointed at her sister, "you love to play the victim." Angela's voice rose. "A victim? No. I'm a mother protecting her child. You have been bullying Maya for months, and you think you can hide behind the word joke. You've called her boring, ugly. You've told her she's less than your daughter. And you've done it all while smiling like butter wouldn't melt in your mouth." The room grew still. A few relatives looked down, embarrassed. Others whispered to one another. Vanessa crossed her arms, smirking again. "Oh, please. Maya's too sensitive. I was teaching her to toughen up. You're raising her to be weak, just like you. Maybe if you weren't such a failure in your marriage, you'd understand how to raise a strong girl." Angela's chest burned. The cruelty of the words cut deep, but before she could speak again, a small voice broke through the silence. "Stop!" Everyone turned. Maya was standing near the corner, fists clenched at her sides, tears shining in her eyes but her voice steady. "You didn't shave my head as a joke. You did it because you were jealous." The room gasped. Vanessa's smirk faltered. Maya's voice shook, but she pressed on. "At school, the teachers told me my natural hair was beautiful. They said I should be proud of it. Some girls even asked me how I styled it. And you looked angry. You told me I was too young to think I was pretty. Then that night at your house, you said, 'We'll see how pretty you feel when your hair is gone.'" Angela's hand covered her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. The relatives murmured in shock. All eyes turned to Vanessa. For the first time, her mask cracked. Her smile faltered, her eyes darting around the room. Angela's mother stood slowly, her voice trembling. "It's true." The room went silent again. Angela turned to her. "What do you mean?" Her mother's hands twisted together. I always knew Vanessa was cruel. Since she was young. She was spoiled, I gave her too much. And I let her get away with things because I felt guilty." "Guilty?" Angela asked, stunned. Her mother's eyes welled with tears. "Your father left when she was small. I tried to fill the hole with love and gifts. And when she hurt you, I told you to forgive her. I thought if I kept the peace, the family would stay whole. But I see now. I was wrong. I enabled her. And I failed you." Angela's breath caught. For years, she had begged her mother to see, to acknowledge the unfairness, the cruelty. And now, in front of everyone, the truth was finally spoken. Vanessa's face turned red. "You're all ridiculous. This is some pity party for Angela and her weak little daughter. You think you're saints? I'm the only one who tells the truth in this family." Angela's anger hardened into something steady. She took Maya's hand and turned to the room. You can all excuse her if you want. You can laugh, you can stay silent. But I will not. I will not let my daughter grow up thinking cruelty is love. If that means walking away, then so be it. She pulled Maya close and began to walk toward the door. The silence behind her was heavy, broken only by a few whispers. No one stopped her. No one tried to excuse Vanessa this time. As the door shut behind them, Angela felt the night air rush over her face. For the first time, the weight on her chest lifted. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for certain. She and Maya would no longer live in silence. The weeks after the confrontation felt heavy, but different. For the first time, Angela didn't feel like she was drowning in silence. She had spoken up. She had walked away. And now it was time to rebuild. She found a therapist for Maya, a kind woman with gentle eyes who made Maya feel safe. At first, Maya barely spoke, answering questions with shrugs or whispers. But slowly, session by session, she began to open up. She talked about the names, the comparisons, the shame she carried when Vanessa mocked her. She cried, and the therapist told her those tears were not weakness. They were release. Angela sat in the waiting room, holding back her own tears, proud of her daughter's courage. Angela also joined therapy herself. She realized she had been carrying scars from her marriage, from her childhood, from all the years of silence. In the quiet of the therapist's office, she admitted how often she had felt small, how often she had been told she was too much or not enough. She admitted how scared she was that Maya would inherit that same brokenness. And for the first time, she heard her own voice speaking truths she had buried. Life at home began to change. Angela made time, even with her busy schedule, to sit with Maya at dinner and ask about her day. They cooked together, laughed over burnt pancakes, and sometimes just sat in silence, holding hands. Angela told her stories about her own childhood. The pain, yes, but also the joy. She wanted Maya to know where she came from, but more importantly, to know she could choose where she was going. Family invitations kept coming, but Angela declined them all. At first, her phone buzzed with messages. You can't stay away forever. It's not that serious. Don't break the family. She ignored them. Some relatives stopped calling altogether. A few quietly admitted they respected her decision, but most stayed loyal to Vanessa. Angela let them go. Peace, she learned, was worth more than forced togetherness. Vanessa's shine began to dim. Word of what happened spread, and though many tried to defend her, the whispers grew. People noticed the cracks in her perfect image. She no longer commanded the same easy respect at gathering. Angela didn't take joy in her sister's fall, but she didn't grieve for it either. Actions had consequences, and finally, Vanessa was feeling them. One evening, Angela found Maya standing in front of the mirror, touching her short hair. For the first time, there was no sadness in her eye. Instead, she smiled, shy but proud. I think I like it this way, she said. It makes me look strong. Angela's chest filled with warmth. She walked over, hugged her daughter from behind, and whispered, You are strong, with or without hair. Don't let anyone make you believe otherwise. Angela realized then what healing meant. It wasn't just moving past the pain. It was teaching her daughter a new way of living, one that didn't accept silence as love, one that didn't excuse cruelty because of family ties. She had broken the cycle her mother never could. There were still hard days. Nights when Maya cried, remembering the laughter. Days when Angela doubted herself, wondering if cutting off the family was too much. But then she looked at her daughter, smiling more, standing taller, and she knew. Protecting Maya was never too much. It was exactly what love demanded. Months passed, and life began to feel lighter. The sharp pain of that night had softened, replaced by small moments of peace. Angela noticed the difference most in Maya. She laughed more now, not the nervous laugh she used to hide behind, but a real, full laugh that filled the room. She walked with her shoulders back, her head held higher. One Saturday morning, Angela found her daughter sitting by the window, the sun catching her short hair. Maya wasn't hiding it anymore. She wasn't covering it with scarves or hats. Instead, she leaned into the light, smiling to herself as she flipped through a sketchbook. Angela stood in the doorway, watching, her heart swelling. For months, she had prayed to see that smile again. Maya looked up, noticed her mother, and said quietly, Mom? Yes, baby? Thank you, Maya whispered, for standing up for me. You made me feel safe. Angela's breath caught. Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. She crossed the room and pulled Maya into her arms, holding her close. She kissed the top of her head, whispering, You'll always be safe with me. Always. For a long moment, they stayed like that, mother and daughter wrapped in silence. A silence that no longer carried shame but comfort. Later, as Angela stood in the kitchen making tea, she thought of the road behind them. Her marriage, the years of silence, the family laughter, the humiliation, the fight. All of it had led to this moment, where her daughter knew she was loved, protected, and valued. Angela wiped her eyes, whispered softly to herself, Never again. And with those words, she felt the weight of generations lift from her shoulders. She had broken the cycle. Hey besties, thanks for staying till the end of this emotional story. Imagine your sister shaving your daughter's head at a family party and calling it a joke. Painful, right? But sometimes, betrayal forces us to stand taller and protect the ones we love. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, drop a comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories. See you next time.